When you sell a product to a foreign customer, it is essential to determine the terms of sale as part of your export pricing strategy. Many businesses use Incoterms, which are internationally recognized commercial terms. They define some key responsibilities of sellers and buyers in the international sale of goods. Issued by the International Chamber of Commerce, Incoterms 2020 is the latest version. This video will help you understand Incoterms, but does not provide full definitions or legal advice. Conduct your own due diligence and get help from a lawyer or freight forwarder as needed. Each Incoterm is expressed as a 3-letter acronym with the place of delivery. Incoterms are a tool to specify who is responsible for paying for and managing various elements of the shipping process, including transportation of the shipment, including loading, unloading, and terminal charges, cargo insurance, export clearance, including export and security documentation, and if required, an export license, export formalities such as packing and pre-shipment inspections, customs clearance and import documentation, including an import license if required, import duties and taxes, and cargo unloading and delivery to the agreed-upon place. Incoterms also define when the risk of loss or damage to goods transfers from the seller to buyer. There are other risks to consider in an export transaction, including liability for export compliance obligations and the cost of a potential customs delay. The choice of one of the 11 Incoterms depends on whether the shipment uses any mode of transport or only sea and/or inland waterway transport. The first 7 Incoterms are for any mode of transport. In Ex Works or EXW plus place of delivery, the seller delivers the goods at a specified place for a buyer to pick up, often at the seller's factory or a depot. The seller is obligated to help with documentation and security requirements, but the buyer is responsible for the automated export system filing and export compliance. However, exporters should know that under U.S. law, they are still liable for correct export documentation and clearance. For that reason, U.S. sellers should consider providing the export paperwork directly or using another Incoterm. With free carrier or FCA plus place of delivery, the seller or its agent delivers the goods to a named place, often the U.S. point of export, such as a shipping dock or airline terminal. The seller is responsible for export clearance. The buyer is then responsible for the shipment. One risk is the seller may not know the country or end user that will receive the shipment, undermining proper export clearance. In carriage paid to, or CPT, plus place of destination, the seller manages the cost and process to ship to the foreign destination point of importation. However, the risk for loss or damage transfers to the buyer at the U.S. export point. For that reason, some buyers may not agree to this term. The carriage and insurance paid to Incoterm, or CIP, plus place of destination, is similar to CPT, with the additional requirement that the seller obtain insurance for the goods while in transit. In delivered at place, or DAP, plus place of destination, the seller arranges and pays for delivery of goods to the foreign destination. Then, the buyer handles import clearance and unloading and in-country transport. Sellers may want to specify in the invoice that the buyer pays additional costs resulting from foreign customs delays. The Incoterm delivered at place unloaded, or DPU plus place of destination, is similar to DAP, but the seller is also responsible for unloading the goods at the destination point. With delivered duty paid, or DDP plus place of destination, the seller delivers the shipment in the foreign country to the named place. The seller assumes all costs, risk, and responsibilities of the shipping process, including foreign customs clearance and potential delays. The sales contract can state who is responsible for unloading the goods at the destination. The 4 remaining Incoterms are used when the transportation only involves sea or inland waterway transport. In free alongside ship, or FAS, plus port of loading, the seller delivers the goods to a U.S. port where the buyer's vessel is located. The seller is responsible for export documentation and clearance. FAS is typically used for bulk or non-containerized shipments. With free on board, or FOB, plus port of loading and vessel, the seller delivers the goods when they are on board the shipping vessel. The seller is responsible for export documentation and clearance, but may not receive the bill of lading since the buyer pays those fees. The seller is also responsible for costs such as terminal charges and risk while the goods wait at the pier for loading. In cost and freight, or CFR, plus port of destination, the seller delivers the goods and risk transfers when they are on board, but the seller also pays for transportation to the foreign country's port. The last Incoterm, cost insurance and freight, or CIF, plus port of destination, is similar to CFR, but includes the seller's responsibility to provide insurance for the goods while in transit. As you decide which Incoterms to offer your foreign buyer, include the costs, responsibilities, and risks of each option in your pricing. Also, include the name of the port or a full street address for the delivery location. Otherwise, the default could be the buyer's premises. Finally, make sure your insurance coverage is sufficient, even if it's not mandated. While Incoterms define many aspects of the shipping process, they do not address all sale conditions, identify the goods sold or contract price, include the payment method or timing, specify when title transfers to the buyer, specify documents the seller provides for the foreign customs clearance process, or address liability or dispute resolution if goods are not provided according to the sales contract. When pricing and fulfilling a sale to a foreign buyer, using internationally recognized Incoterms can help ensure a smooth and transparent process. For more information, visit the International Chamber of Commerce website at iccwbo.org.